Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I hope you're having yourselves a tremendously awesome morning. And like I said, as you're listening here on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT and on the homepage where the MixLR feed is embedded, on the sites for Wake Up Call, WakeUpCallDT.com. You're also watching on Facebook Live, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. So good morning to my peeps. Hope you're doing well inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. You see that mug, and I'll be bringing out my pumpkin spice chai during the show today. That's what I fill my cup with. You can fill it whatever you want. Dark roast coffee. They have so many greats. The cold brew has so many great flavors and different drinks, as well as fantastic food. And, from their sandwiches to their desserts at Cafe Kubal, go out and see them at any one of their 5 locations on 3501 James Street, as well as 324 West Water Street, 201 North Townsend Street, and inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital. You can find them there as well. So I believe I told you them all. 401 South Salina Street, if I didn't say that one. But make sure you get yourself out to all of them. The South Salina Street one is open. There is construction downtown, but you can park and walk right over to 401 South Salina Street. So make sure that you continue to do that. With that being stated, fantastic show coming up for you today. As we always do, I'm very excited to be here with you. We have Papa Joe in the first hour, and in the second hour, we got Big Lou Alexander joining us here, MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', giving you the list of topics for the day and special guests on the show. Use your online promo code to get your popcorn ready, whether you're watching the game, watching the World Series, watching college football, the NFL, Game of Thrones, whatever you got to get your popcorn ready, and you can do that at MaandPazPopcorn.com. Use the promo code DT20, and they will give you 20% off thanks to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and our partnership. So make sure that you utilize that today, and you can have it shipped to you, or you can pick it up in store at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. So make sure you do that. With that being stated, like I said, Papa Joe is here with us this morning for hour number 1, as he always is. And I want to show you my shirt, my birthday shirt that I wore yesterday just for a little bit, and then I had to change and switch out of it. So I didn't get to wear it too long, but I wanted to put it back on, and that is the Black Panther Harley Davidson shirt that says Ride with the King. I got my Harley shirt down at Disney Springs, and I'm missing Disney, and I'm missing the Black Panther. So I had to rock the shirt today, and of course Ride with the King. Why wouldn't you have that? So, with that being said, we're riding with PJ for the first hour of today's broadcast. Let's bring him in. PJ, how are we doing today?
Good morning, Daniel. Everything's great down here.
And Mr. PJ, I got to ask you about, we got a lot to unpack, a lot to get into. I got to ask about your Gators, a very unique situation where Dan Mullen said, I want the stadium to be open to 90,000 people, and then a couple days later, they had to postpone their game due to Corona, and then he ended up getting it. So how strange and ironic was it that he was like, open the stadium to everybody, and then the team couldn't play because of it, and then he came down with it?
Well, he had to eat some crow, Daniel. I mean, it's unfortunate because he's such a vibrant, loquacious guy. He loves to talk and like kind of a Jimbo Fisher guy. But he made a big mistake in doing what he did. He realizes that, and he's apologized, but they've stopped all that football activities in Gainesville. There's nothing going on. Whatever they're doing remotely. So he's in a tough way right now. He's in his den by himself because he can't mess around with his kids or his wife. It's funny, but it's not too funny. It's serious. But I think the guys came down on him pretty hard. He should have never done what he said about packing the swamp, which is very foreboding. I tell you, that you've probably been to some loud stadiums, but damn, you get in the swamp and it is huge. First of all, it's an enormous stadium. It handles well over 90,000 people, and it's a bowl too. So it's loud and it's supposed to upset the offense and defense of the other team. But
yeah,
Dan's a hurting Gator right now, so he's got it. Lucky he's not playing this week again. He's not playing again they're not playing until they play Missouri next weekend. So they got all this time to mess around and do things remotely. But I don't know how good that's going to do them. They should be able to handle Missouri okay.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and here with Papa Joe once again this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, speaking first and foremost about the Florida Gators. We got a lot to unpack and get to today. Knowing that, we've obviously waited for football to come back and waited somewhat impatiently for football to come back. Seeing it come back and knowing that it's on, but being in the unique situation of being a Gator fan and, a Gator alum and not getting to see them, how strange is that for you that football is on, but your team currently is not?
Well, it's hard. I want to see the team play. I want to see them excel. I want to see them graduate from college, but it's different. Luckily, I got to have a good 12 o'clock game and a good 4 o'clock game with other teams to watch. So we'll see what happens this week. My bros up in Wisconsin are getting ready for University, Wisconsin, to start their season now with Illinois just coming in the Camp Randall Stadium. So everyone's cooking with gas now. We're ready to play some football.
Yeah, you bring us into another piece of today's show, speaking here with Papa Joe here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and that piece is the fact that we now have the Big Ten returning on my birthday weekend and making the decision to come back here October 24th. They will be playing their first games. Thoughts on the Big Ten and the Big Ten's decision to return here? They said that they were going to postpone until the spring. They were going to wait it out, and then basically, I said it was like somebody saying they weren't going to go to the party because they thought if they didn't go, nobody would go. And then they started to see pictures and getting text messages of everybody at the party having a good time, and said, "Well, I guess we got to get to the party now." We thought we could skip out on it and that nobody would go, and everybody's there, and we don't want them having fun without us. So let's jump into the party. So they are in it. They were going to wait until the spring, and now they've decided to go ahead and play football. They have a full slate of games coming up this weekend. The Big Ten is back. What are your thoughts on the Big Ten?
Well, I suppose we got to let them into the party, I guess. These teams better be playing some good football because the stronger teams in the country that are setting up for the championship, like Clemson and Alabama, are rocking and rolling. And if Ohio State wants to catch up, they're going to have to play some really good ball. They're going to have to win with authority. So I'm not sure where it's going to go, but as I stated earlier, my bros in Milwaukee are ready for Wisconsin to play ball. I like Wisconsin this year. They got their quarterback coming back, throws well. They've always got a good running attack up there in Wisconsin. So they're going to have to, lengthen the field and hold control of the ball, beat Illinois, and take it game by game. I know they're going to wind up playing Ohio State sooner or later.
Yeah, we know that Friday, October 23rd, will officially jump off the Big Ten schedule. The two teams that get to jump off that schedule, Illinois and Wisconsin. So your bros up in Wisconsin get to be the first home game as well for the Big Ten this season as they usher in the season. What are your thoughts on that and the fact that Wisconsin gets to open the Big Ten football play with the only Friday night game?
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure the TVs will be turned on. I'm not sure how many people they can allow in that stadium. That's a huge stadium too. Most of the schools around this country have really, really large stadiums. But you watch these football games, and if you watch games with cavernous stadiums like Florida Field, where they got 90,000 people, and say only 20% can go in there, it's still really, really empty. And I don't know how they're going to do that at Wisconsin. I'm not sure. I don't think I understand what they're doing with their protocols and how many people are going to allow in there. But Wisconsin is known as a very, very, very tough party school. So the kids will be drinking beer somewhere and watching a game.
Yeah, and we have that coming up. Nebraska will play Ohio State. Rutgers will play Michigan State. Penn State will play Indiana. Iowa will play Purdue, Michigan, Minnesota, Maryland, Northwestern. We'll give our game picks of the week later on here in the broadcast, PJ. But is there any game that you have circled that you think is the best one of the week for the Big Ten?
Well, I want to see Wisconsin get off to a good start. I want to see Ohio State and see what they're made of. I know they're playing Nebraska. And Nebraska, the last couple of years is really disappointed. I thought Scott Frost was really going to go up there and do a hell of a job for them. He certainly had a once-in-a-lifetime season at FAU down there, and it just didn't transition well for him up to Wisconsin. He certainly got the athletes up there, but I'm not sure what's going on. But he may be the chosen one to lead the program, but he hasn't won in a couple of years, so he's got to be competitive this Saturday, Daniel. He has to be competitive against Ohio State. I mean, they'll probably get beat, but they got to be able to score some points, and they got to be able to stop Ohio State somewhere. You know, apparently the Nebraska people up there are being very patient with him. I mean, he's got a plan. He's recruiting his own kids, but you know, I don't care how good you recruit. You got to win, and they're going to have to play tough against a very formidable Ohio State team.
Yeah, you know, what he did in 2 seasons at UCF was incredible. Got the team to a 6-6 record, and then the team turned around and went undefeated. Then Josh Heupel came in, and they continued that streak, which was awesome. And my mom said this morning, she put, "Good morning, my 2 favorite people," to you and I. So, so excited to be here this morning and have some fun with Papa Joe, and a big shout out to the most incredible mother in the world who threw me a surprise birthday party yesterday, and I did not know what was going to happen, what was going on, and she threw me a surprise one. So I'm very happy to have that and to be there and to have such a terrific mom, and to have another mom for me in my life, a mommy number 2 down in Florida, Miss Mary. And I know that she's sitting there and she's usually doing her thing and, you know, cleaning the house and outside working on the lawn and doing this, that, and the other, and fixing your earbuds, PJ, and she's always doing stuff. She's, you know, in production, so to speak, down in Florida always, and I want to shout her out because one of the most incredible people that I know as well in this world is Miss Mary T. So I want to send her my love and tell the world here on Wake Up Call and in any way that I can that one of the most amazing people is Miss Mary, and we love her. We appreciate her. She is an incredible mom, an incredible friend, an incredible person, very giving of herself, big heart, and she should have only the best in this world. So I think we have to say that today.
Oh, that's you said that. You said that. She is remarkable.
Yeah, you got a good one.
Right now, she's trying to help Meatball number 1. So we got to get him to his situation. But it's not, you know, any family situation is tough. But when he got dumped on like he did, he's hurting. He's hurting, but he's getting better and better and better. Or he's a funny guy, a nice man to go around. I mean, he's my son, of course, but he's a nice man.
Yeah.
He's a really nice man. So, you know, someone will be latched onto him, and he'll go off to the sunset with another young lady. Let's hope it's a good one.
Yeah, you got a good one. My mom's a good one, and it's hard to find a good one out there, PJ, now. Really,
Right.
It ain't easy, PJ. So We're here with Papa Joe this morning from the Sunshine State, speaking on college football, the NFL, and the World Series. We spoke a little bit here on the Big Ten and what's going on. PJ, I'm going to throw this open to you, and I'm not going to load the question by any stretch of the imagination. It's not something that I like to do, so I'm just going to say this to you. Where in the world is Syracuse football right now?
Oh, Daniel, it is so disappointing to see what's happening up there. Well, I don't know if Dino Babers has lost the clubhouse or not. I don't know if they use that term in college or not like they do in the pros.
Yeah.
Pros, they don't like to be coached, and, you know, in college, they got to be coached. I don't know if he's lost it or not, but he's certainly always been a very capable coach, and you have to look at coaching. I looked up his stats this morning before we came on. He's number 47 in the country in recruits right now. He's got 21 signees, all of them 3 stars. And you and I have talked about this before, and we've also pumped up, you know, a lot because he can do a lot with 3 stars that most coaches don't do with 4 and 5 stars. So I know that's you know, the kids look at the star system and, you know, they think they're big wheels because they're 5s and 4s. But if you can play at Syracuse as a 3-star and be coached well, you should be able to be competitive. And Daniel, he's not competitive, and I don't understand why. I don't know who his offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators are. I know it's got to be killing him. But I think you and I, a couple of years ago, when he had a good season, I thought maybe he would take off for greener pastures. And
yeah.
I think it's about time for Dino to say, I've had my run at Syracuse. Let me get through this season, and I think I got to look somewhere else. So I mean, he's going to be a popular coach to hire. He's a class guy, class act. You got to graduate your kids up there in Syracuse. That's a very demanding private school. So he's not doing anything wrong. He's just not winning. I mean, but then you lose to Liberty. No slight against Liberty, but I mean, Liberty. Come on, Liberty. Jeez. What else can I say?
And the thing is, with Liberty, Liberty controlled the clock. Liberty went into this game with nothing to lose. They were 4-0. They came out of it 5-0. They had three different running backs, two running backs and their running quarterback got into the end zone. Malik Willis was able to do it, and this is one of those things where Duke came in the week before 0-4, and they dictated the pace of the game. They dictated the game itself. They made numerous mistakes. And so I want to go back to that game because Syracuse leads the nation in takeaways, despite the fact that they're 1-4. So I want to get your thoughts on this, PJ. Duke fumbled the ball 4 times. They lost 3 of those fumbles on consecutive drives. They also turned the ball over on downs. And Chase Bryce, who used to play for Clemson, threw an interception. When you have 14 possessions and 5 of them are turned over, have you ever heard of a team win a game who has turned the ball over on 3 fumbles, an interception, and a turnover on downs, and won, and not only won, but won by double digits, and not only that, but scored almost 40 points? Have you heard of something like that happening? Because that's what happened with Duke against Syracuse.
Well, that's very unusual to happen, certainly. But let's face it, Duke coached well in that team. Those kids were coached up to play, and they may have made some fundamental mistakes, which you cited. But Syracuse got to take advantage of those. If someone turns the ball over, and you get the ball, and especially if you're in their end of the field, you got to score some points, at least get a field goal or something.
Yeah.
But it just didn't. It's not happening, and I don't. It's got to be the offense. And I questioned you about the quarterback that Syracuse put in the game because I hadn't heard of him before, and you said there's going to be the new quarterback. I forgot his name, but
Rex Culpepper from down in Tampa.
Yeah, right, Culpepper, right. So I mean, is that cut in stone now? Is he going to try to move the team or what?
Well, what I question is when and Dino and I have had a good relationship ever since he got here, and I respect Dino, and I appreciate his time, and I appreciate our bond and our relationship. I was concerned when I asked him about his 3rd and 4th and 5th string. When I asked him about his backups, I asked him about the freshmen because there's 4 freshmen on the team, 1 redshirt freshman, and the other 3 are true freshmen. And I asked him about the guys that said, how much, what can you tell us about them? What are they doing? This and that. And this was going into the Liberty game, and he was like, "Oh, Dan, you know that we don't rep those guys. You know that they're not out there. We barely have enough time to rep our 2, let alone our 3, 4, and 5. We don't rep those guys. They're on the scout team, so they do what they we see them do what we tell them to do on the scout team, but beyond that, we don't really know, what they are capable of, so to speak." And he's like, "I mean, we look at their film. We could go back to their," and I was like, "But you're the coach. You're the coach. You're supposed to know. Your quarterback coach is supposed to know. Somebody's supposed to tell. I mean, you have Rex Culpepper stepping in. He's a redshirt senior. Even if he plays the rest of the season, one of these other 4 guys is going to have to play next year because Tommy DeVito wasn't cutting it, and he's coming off an injury. So bare minimum, you got to have an open competition that if Tommy does become the starter again, you got to push him. You got to have somebody light a fire under his butt and push him. And so it's one of those things where I was very, very confused by the response of, like, Dan, you know, we're not repping these guys and this and that. I'm like, I don't know, because Syracuse closes practice to the media, and years ago they decided to stop letting us see anything that it has nothing to do with Corona. So I used to keep a camp notebook, and I used to write everything down, and I would keep a log of everything that went on with Syracuse football, and I wasn't giving anybody our playbook and this, that, and the other. I was just talking about talent and talking about what I saw. Now we can't scout the talent because they lock the doors and throw away the key up on the hill, which makes no sense to me. You got a team that's 4-8, 4-8, 10-3, 5-7, and now they have one win this season, 5 games in. What are you hiding? What's the secret? Let us watch it. Let us see it. Let us know it. And so if I was in practice and I was watching the quarterbacks, I could give you information. So, I mean, he's got to know how they could throw. He's got to know their tendencies. But it really concerned me that he was like, well, we don't rep those guys. We don't. And I was like, well, you have to now. And then somebody else asked the question coming off of my question. They asked the question this week. It said, well, you said you didn't do this and that with the quarterback. Like, what are you doing now? And he was like, oh, well, we moved him over, and they look like JV going to varsity, and they were like a deer in headlights, and they were in awe that they got to be with the big boys, and I'm not ready to put any of my little brothers out there on the field. So none of that makes me feel good, and I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
No, it's terrible. I wish I could see them a little bit more and be a little bit more objective, but we don't get a lot of the Syracuse games down here. And
yeah.
Of course, who's Syracuse playing this week? Clemson. They're playing Clemson?
Yes, sir.
Oh, jeez.
I said, after losing to an 0-4 team and a Liberty team, I was like, oh, thank God you get Clemson now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're, Dan, you should see the lines on this. Yeah, they're a noon game, too, so I'll be able to watch that when they'll be on down there. They are a 46-point underdog.
Yeah.
It's 46 points. That's 7 touchdowns, almost.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're at right now. We don't need to talk about it anymore. I mean, if he gets embarrassed, I'm not sure how Syracuse runs their deals up there. And I've always questioned you about, the finances up there and how much do they pay him, and is he competitive payment-wise throughout the industry. So I'm not sure what kind of deal he's got with them, or can he buy his way out, or do they just fire him and whatever they do, But I think he's going to have to. First of all, he's not going to. If he's not competitive against Clemson, I mean competitive in the. Let's just say they don't give up the line of scrimmage that easy. If they're competitive, I'd be okay with that if they just hang in there in the line of scrimmage, because the athletes are not going to have, and Lawrence is going to score 50,000 points and throw for 10 million yards. So it's not going to be easy, but Coach Babers has done a good job up there, but there comes a time when it's time to cut bait. And then I think this is the time for either him or SU to get together and say, let's have a cessation here, and we're going to start all over again with another coach. And Dino will be hired very quickly by some other program that needs a guy like him. And I'm going to wish him luck early, because I think he's just not long for the rest of the season, I guess.
Yeah, Dino is signed through 2024, and it's currently 2020 right now. So that's what we have here about as far as the contract goes, is that he's signed through 2024. The Syracuse doesn't release information on contracts, and that's something that we typically never see. The information is not readily available. It's not stated. There's no how long, how much money. So, we have to find it out as we go and try to see where things sit at. And sometimes things get leaked out there. But 2024 is where it is. So what are your thoughts on that? The fact that that 2024 is allegedly, how long Dino is supposed to be at Syracuse.
Well, usually with these kind of contracts, they have buyouts in them for both sides, pro and the con about it. So, but I don't know if Dino has the monies to buy out his own contract. I don't think so. But I just don't know how Syracuse feels about it. I mean, they gave him an extension, wasn't it, last year for 5 extra years or something more like that, and he readily took it. But things aren't working out, so I don't know what the alumni are going to say when he winds up 1-9 this year or 1-8 or whatever it's going to be. Because he's not going to win this week. He's not going to beat Louisville. He's not going to beat any of these teams. They playing Florida State this year?
No, they're not playing Florida State.
No, they're not playing Florida State. Okay. Well, you got a monstrous schedule, so he's playing against one of the best conferences in the country, and he's not going to be competitive. So I would think that if they haven't started already, then they need to do that maybe by the end of the season and say, look, if this isn't working out anymore, we gave you these amount of years in good faith, and they got to go back and forth. So maybe you can find that out. I know they play things close to the vest up there, but maybe you can find out what his buyout is, or how can he escape without getting killed too much.
Well, and allegedly the buyout could be around $17 million.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Oh. Well, if he goes to a big school, if he puts his name out there and say he goes to, say, Nebraska, for instance, if Scott Frost doesn't make it this year, I mean, Nebraska can pay half of that fee. But, boy, that's $17 million buyout. Jeez.
And the thing is that so the athletic director has had said here yesterday on my birthday, the athletic director had made a statement, John Wildhack, that alleges that's well, this is what he said. He said that Babers will lead the team, quote, for a long time. Will hopefully lead the team, quote, for a long time. He said, quote, when you look at everything we've had to deal with this year, it's been incredibly challenging. I'm not going to judge the book on Coach Babers solely on this year. Now, that's not saying that he's staying. That's just saying I'm not going to judge him on just this season. Now, the first time I've ever heard Dino make it sound like he might not be here was the statement that he made on Monday when we were on the Zoom call with him. He said, quote, I know there's better days to come, and hopefully I'm here to get to see all of it, end quote. So he did say that. He did say, and for the first time ever, like I said, saying something of the sense that sounded like he wasn't confident that he was going to be. Because I feel like up into this season, up into, where we are where the team is right now at 1-4, I feel that he's got, I think that he felt like he was in control. He had the reins. He told us when he came in, have faith, belief without evidence. The team went 4-8, and then he got the team 10-3. And a lot of that had to do with Eric Dungy, who we missed terribly. And after that, he went 5-7 last year, and they weren't supposed to make a dip. But it was like, okay, you made a dip. Now show us what you got. You got a new defensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator that was at Syracuse has given up 197 points a game. So now that person's gone. So you bring in somebody else and you change your defense. 3-3-5, Tony White, you bring him in from Arizona and you're excited, state of Arizona, you're excited about it. And you have these talented guys and you're going to trust more on the back end. And the DBs are the guys that have really been the bread and butter since Dino's gotten here over these last few seasons. So it seems like it's going to work. It starts to work a little bit here and there. But reality is, it seemed that he was in control. It seemed that when Dino stood at a podium, it was like, this is my team. I'm not leaving unless I want to go. And then this Monday, like I said, was the first time where I heard him say anything that sounded like, oh, well, hopefully they won't tell me to go. I could sense a switch, a little uncertainty. Should there be uncertainty right now?
Sure. I mean, that's legitimate, and a question that he should be able to answer. But I don't see Daniel. There's only let's face it, the colleges, they talk a big game. They want to say that we want the coaches to graduate their kids and stuff like that. They don't give a damn about that. They do, but not as much as you think. They want to win football games. And to win football games, they got to make money. They got to make money in a conference that they're in, which you are in a very good conference. He should be able to share in that, but he's got to be competitive against some of these teams. You should be able to beat the lower-end teams, but then you go up against NC, North Carolina State, Virginia. These teams are handing him his clock. I don't know if it's coaching or not, but I'm gonna blame it on coaching because he certainly should have enough athletes to do it. As I stated, he's got 21 3-stars coming in, and he coaches 3-stars real well. So, Dino, I don't see any excuses on you at all. I'd like to see you win. I'd like to see it start by this weekend being at least competitive, at least on the line of scrimmage. You know, Lawrence is going to do his thing. He's got athletes all over the field. You know, Dino has always had a good group of athletes, and I'd like to see them play a little bit harder maybe. But when you go against someone like Clemson, and going to be in Death Valley, of course, and all of a sudden they're down with 5 minutes to go in the first quarter, they're down 21-0. I mean, what are these kids going to do when they look at each other and say, go to Coach, what do we do? You know? And Dino's going to have to say something, because that's what's going to happen. It's going to be 21-zip before they even sit down. And, you know, he's going to have to say something. Look at men, all right, we'll just start all over again. Okay. Pretend it, wipe the 21, go into halftime, they're down 35-zip. Come out the second half. Listen, fellas, it's a 0-0 game in the second half. Let's be competitive in the second half. We're going to lose the game, fine, that's all right. But let's start out 0-0 here in the second half and see what happens. Well, you know, that's the only advice I could give these kids.
Well, you know, and that's the thing, Papa Joe, is the reality of it all is that's what teams do to Syracuse. They are down at halftime. They come out and they beat, you know, Wake Forest did that. Wake Forest did that with Dino here. Went into halftime. They were down, it was like almost 20 points. And Dave Clawson went into the locker room, said whatever he said. They came out 163-47. They came out and scored 40-some-odd points, and Syracuse did almost nothing in the second half. So, I mean, teams do it to Syracuse. And that's, and you know, you bring in, and this is, and I've said this before, well, there's a couple different things. Alan said this morning, $17 million buyout for failing is the worst negotiated deal since the Iran nuclear deal. That's what he wrote.
That's good.
That's what he wrote today. And the other thing that Alan brought up is, you know, that we were talking about with the defense coordinator, the offensive coordinator, even though there's been a little bit of a round robin, and they've had some people that, you know, were on the team, kind of got shifted around and whatnot. They had co-offensive coordinators, and then one of those gentlemen left and went on to another school, and then the other guy was there by himself, and then they put him down to running backs coach, and then they moved somebody else in. So you have a new OC, you have a new DC, and this is how I know it. This is how I kind of read the tea leaves on this thing, and the reality of this is when you're a head coach, and it's not working, they may fire you, or they'll say, you know what, it ain't working. Go find yourself a new defensive coordinator. Go find yourself a new offense coordinator. One or the other, or both. If they don't work, then it's you. That's typically what I see when you read those tea leaves. That's what I see happen. Is they say to a coach, it ain't working. I can fire you now, or you can go show me that you could bring better people in here to run your offense or run your defense. And if they don't work, then I'm coming at the head of the snake, because obviously now you've had a chance to bring in a different person or different people, and it's not working. Is that fair to say, to your opinion, or, you know, in your opinion, the fact of a head coach bringing in new coordinators, and if those coordinators don't work, it's usually a ticking time bomb to when they eventually go to the coach and say, hey, you tried, you brought in new guys, that didn't work, so obviously I think that we need to move on.
Well, the bottom line is to win. And Syracuse the administration could sing a different tune, but no, you got to win. I mean, you're not going to be embarrassed to go 2-9 or 3-8, and you just can't do that. And usually when that happens, they clean house. Not only does the coach goes, but everyone goes. All the The entire coaching staff, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams, they all go. Start all over again. And then they got to start the process to find someone to take over the program. There's a lot of coaches out there would love to come to Syracuse. Now you got a beautiful stadium again. You've spent countless of millions of dollars on that, and you can't have a team that's 3-8 or 2-9 to go in that beautiful stadium and expect the kids to pack it. It's not going to happen. So this is going to be crunch time, not for Dino and for SU administration. So someone's going to have to fire the first shot.
Yeah, and it is. It's a very, very. It's a dismal thing, and the thing is like you put all this money into the dome to repair the dome and make the dome look better, and make take an old arena that opened in 1980 and make it look like a new one almost 40 years later. You put all that work into it. Allegedly, they put air conditioning into it. I'll believe it when I feel it. But the air conditioning that they said that they put in there, and there is the hope that the internet will work when there's people in the dome, because there's this really funny thing that when you're a media person and you're trying to write a story, when the dome is packed and there's a lot of people there, the internet will just go down. It'll just shut down on like timeouts and all this stuff or whatever. So I'm hoping that the internet's going to work. That's a thing. But I appreciate being there, and I think the thing for people to understand is, I appreciate these kids. I have love for them. I have respect for them. I have love and respect for the coaches that we've been able to know. The thing that frustrates me more than anything, and this is something that a lot of people don't know either, and I talk about it here on the show because enough is enough, is that we don't know any of the assistant coaches. We're not allowed to know any of the assistant coaches. The assistant when Scott Schaefer was hired, when he was elevated from defensive coordinator to head coach, he had a meeting with all of us, with the media. He had an ushering in press conference. When he got ushered in, we got to interview him, and I'll never forget it. I walked down to him and I said, "Congrats, Scott," and he looked at me, and I didn't know that he really knew who I was or what I did or how I went about my business. He looked at me, he goes, "Danny," and he grabbed me and he gave me a big hug. And then they opened the door upstairs, and he said, "I'd like to introduce to you my staff." And the staff came walking out from above all of us, and then came down, and then they're like, "You're free to go and mingle with the staff and talk with the staff." We have never had that moment with Dino. People have come and gone. We are not allowed to talk to any of his staff, his coordinators, his assistants, nobody. The schools don't know him. Nobody knows them in the community. And that was what one of the alumni said. They said, if you were walking in a grocery store, you could be next to 7 of the coaches and you wouldn't even know who they were. And so what do you think about the fact that Dino did not allow the media in 5 years to meet any of his staff? We're not allowed to interview any of the staff. We're not allowed to talk to the coordinators. We're not allowed to talk to the assistant coaches. We're not allowed to see them, be around them. Some people couldn't find them in a mugshot. What are your thoughts on the fact that that's the state of things?
Well, that's very narrow-minded. I don't know why he would even consider something like that. He must have a reason. How long has it been since? How long has he been there, Daniel?
This is the 5th year.
5th year, okay. Well, the only thing I can say is time for change, Daniel. There's no reason to keep commenting on it. It's time for change. Whether the alumni can push it forward, maybe the alumni can help buy him out, but Syracuse doesn't have that kind of money to buy out a $17 million contract, so he doesn't have the personal resources. So you either have to live with each other this miserable time, or Syracuse is going to have to get competitive on the field. So, Dino, starting this Saturday, you got to be competitive. In the trenches, hold up Clemson as much as you can. Don't let them kill you 93-0. Be competitive.
Oh yeah, and the fact of the matter is, being in the place that they're in now, the reality of it all is that this isn't a Corona thing. Some people say, "Oh, Corona." In Corona, Liberty's playing well. In Corona, Clemson still looks like Clemson. The ACC, the ACC still looks like the ACC. Lane Kiffin's still the Lane train. So, the only thing you can blame on Corona is when one of your players, if they were to, unfortunately, and God willing this doesn't happen, if somebody got it. That's the only thing you can blame on Corona. Well, we didn't get to practice. Nobody got to practice. It's not like Syracuse didn't get to practice, but everybody else practiced. It's not like Syracuse was in a bubble and everybody else was partying. That's not the case. The reality is everybody has an even playing field. You have spring ball, fall ball, you play the games. This year, you didn't really have much of spring ball. You had your fall ball, you had the things that you had to do, and you play games. That is where the teams are at. Everybody's in the same situation. So nobody can say, well, this season, Syracuse is the way they are because of Corona. Because everybody is in the same place. You can't say that unless, if Syracuse had 50 kids that came down with Corona and they couldn't even field a team, then let's talk about something. But the reality of it all is injuries happen. Corona can affect anybody. There's different hotspots. And in the state of New York, God bless, and hopefully it stays this way and goes to 0. We're at a 0.96 in, transmission rate, not even 1%. So, this is one of the best places to be if you're a college football player and staying healthy. So the reality of it all is I don't want to hear people say, well, Syracuse isn't good this year because of Corona. Because if that's the case, why is everybody else playing well and everybody else had the same situation? It's not like anybody's done anything differently. The ACC has blanket protocol for all of their schools. So Notre Dame, Clemson, Syracuse, Florida State, they're all doing the same thing. So that's one thing I don't want to hear is, well, it's a year with Corona. Yeah, everybody is dealing with that, and I don't think that gives any special case to anybody.
That's true. Well, at least the World Series is good.
So, and what we're going to do is take. I love that. What's your commentary on Syracuse football? At least the World Series is good. But so we're going to take a step aside on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We'll be back in just a moment where sports truly meets life to speak with Papa Joe on the World Series and a little bit of the NFL. Hey, guess what? The Jaguars look exactly like Syracuse. They lose to winless teams. Their record is the same. And Doug Marrone is a common denominator. We will talk about what's going on in Jacksonville as well as the World Series right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Thanks for being with us.
George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We're hanging out inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. We're also on the Facebook, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. And for people that are like, Dan, really? You're going to say the Facebook? It makes you sound old. Yeah, well, you know what? I like saying it because I think it's funny. So that's where I'm at. And we're happy to be here with, maybe not funny, but just maybe just a commentary. So happy to be here with you. Happy to have some fun here this morning. PJ's hanging out with us, and we are talking about a lot of different things. Unfortunately, PJ, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they look like this. They look like the Syracuse Orange, like I said. They look like Syracuse. Syracuse is 1-4. The Jags are 1-5. You know, I mean, it's just, you just kind of want to, they're on a 5-game losing streak. Since beating the Colts 27-20, they hung with the Titans and lost that game 33-30. They got embarrassed by the Dolphins at home. They gave Joe Burrow his first win as a professional quarterback coming from LSU, number 1 pick in this year's draft. They lost to the Texans, who are awful this year. And they lost to the Lions, who aren't that good. So, where are we at right now, in your opinion, with Jacksonville football?
It's a very difficult, actually it's a difficult topic to talk about because, you know, I'm just a big fan. I'm a rabid fan. I mean, I want to see them do well. I want to see them be competitive. But it's the same old thing. I mean, it's Doug Marrone just flipping gears here, spitting oil. Things aren't working. You know, Minshew's playing his behind off. There's talk down here that they're going to bring in Mike Glennon to play quarterback because Minshew's not doing this, he's not doing that. Meanwhile, he's completing a lot of passes, throwing for a lot of yards. His touchdown interception rate is good. He fumbles every once in a while. Big deal because he's getting killed at the line of scrimmage. I mean, look at Doug has to take possession of this. Glennon's not going to come in and make that big a difference. He's taller than Minshew, but what's a couple inches when you're talking? Minshew's big enough to play this game. He just got to have time to go down the field. Now, I do grant that Minshew doesn't throw the best of passes. He has some wounded ducks up there every once in a while. He missed a lot of open receivers this last time. But sometimes he's listening for steps, you know?
Yeah.
I like to compare him to Aaron Rodgers when he's in the pocket. He dances a little bit left and right and up and down. He tries not to get sacked. No quarterback wants to get sacked. But, you know, he's not as cool as Rodgers. And Rodgers got his ass handed to him, too. So the best do it. And Minshew he's trying too hard is what he's doing. They're not going down the field enough. He's completing some passes to Robinson a lot. You know, it's not the game plan. I thought Jay Gruden was going to come in here and really turn things around. I thought he had a great plan for this offense this year, dealing with a young quarterback who's smart, he absorbs everything, he knows everything, and it's not getting done on the field. So, you know, Doug Marrone's got a couple of choices here. He could ride out the season, and with the end of the season, he's going to be gone. Caldwell's going to be gone. Jay Gruden's going to be gone unless he's going to be the head coach. But I don't see that happening. You know, Shad Khan has been real patient here over the last several years, and nothing has happened. Nothing has happened good except for the 1 year where they almost got to the Super Bowl. But they haven't been competitive either. It's the line of scrimmage. I keep bitching about that. It's the line of scrimmage. They're not owning it. And if you don't win the line of scrimmage in professional football, you're going to get killed. You're not going to be able to pass. You're not going to be able to run. You're sure as hell not going to stop the run. So, hey, they don't stop the run. They're not stopping any passes. They're not stopping anything. So, you know, Doug's got a tough job ahead of him. And now this week, what is it? Jacksonville.
They're going to be on the West Coast where they have a terrible record. They'll be playing the Los Angeles Chargers. Jacksonville always struggles going to the West Coast.
Oh yeah, Los Angeles Chargers. Well, maybe the sun out there will help them. It's Doug Marrone seems to have a problem delegating authority a little more vociferously. Let me put it this way. You know, when you see some of these high-strung coaches chewing out their defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators, that's because they're men and they demand satisfaction. They demand some type of excellence. I don't see Doug yelling at anyone. Now, I know he's a laid-back guy. That's fine, okay. But so you can't do it in privately.
Yeah.
You got to be able to show your fans, even though we all got 15,000. You got to be able to show your fans that, look, I care. I'm bitching at this guy and swearing at this guy and cussing at this guy. You know, you gotta have some merit here, and there's nothing happening. Now they signed Aaron Lynch, is coming back out of retirement. They signed him. I don't know when he's going to be ready to play. Not this week, that's for sure. And they got Josh Lambo is going to return from the injured reserve, so perhaps there'll be some field goals made this week. But you know, field goals aren't going to cut it when you're playing teams that are scoring 35 to 40 points a game. You know, constantly, we've talked about this. We've beaten it to death. Jacksonville gets behind too early. Minshew's in a passing situation. He's in a panic situation. You can't get all the points back on one drive, but you got to be able to score. And before you know it, 7-0, 10-0, 13-0, and the whole game plan is thrown out the door. Well, this is what we wanted to do. Now we can't do it anymore because we're behind. Gardner, we're going to have to shift gears, and that, you know, Gardner, I guess, just isn't ready for that.
You know, and it is. I mean, this team has been it's a world of frustration right now, and unfortunately, you know, this is where they are. I mean, the bright spot on the team is James Robinson, but you know, I mean, Jacksonville did this before. They did this before when Shad Khan okayed the deal to bring in Doug Marrone. And at the time, a friend of mine, Nate Hackett, who was the offensive coordinator. So you bring in a head coach and his right-hand guy who helped him to create an offense at Syracuse that he, you know, obviously could bring and implement in Jacksonville. Now, you got Doug Marrone, got elevated to head coach, which I knew was going to happen. People talking about how Chip Kelly was going to be the head coach, I thought that was ridiculous. And it's just, you know, obviously that's an example of when people create something for you to click on the story. So Doug Marrone gets entrenched into the team when Gus Bradley's still there, and then they make him the head coach 2 years later. Is there a thought in your mind that they would do that to Doug with Jay Gruden? Should they do that with Jay? Or should they just say, you know what? We got to stop. Okay, Todd Wash has been here with different head coaches, and he's been a defensive coordinator, and it ain't working. We've had a bunch of offensive coordinators, it ain't working. We've had 32 different quarterback coaches, and it ain't working. Does Shad Khan say after this year, Doug, everybody, thank you, but I'm going to have my own guy come in, and I'm going to let him put a new team together of coaches? Do we keep, you know, keeping pieces and remnants of past coaches and past times, or do we start fresh?
You know, of course he's going to say that, probably because it doesn't look like Jacksonville's going to get any type of winning streak to save the jobs. But to do that, you're admitting that your fallacies here, you're admitting your problems, and you're going to fire everyone and bring in someone else. That person is going to take a couple of years to get up to snuff, too. Meanwhile, us, the fans, and us, the pundits, have got to sit through more agonizing defeats, and we may see our quarterback go. We may see Minshew go. That brings up an interesting point when it comes to the draft. There's a lot of teams now that are in the market for Trevor Lawrence, who's going to be the first pick. No question about that. And the Jaguars are going to have to be in that conversation. I don't want to see the Jaguars do this. I don't want to see them do that. I don't want to be in a position where, God, I love Gardner Minshew. I wish he could play for this team. But if it's no good, it's no good. New quarterback coach comes in, new offensive coordinator comes in, new head coach comes in, and they're not going to like me. What am I going to do? You know, they bring in Trevor Lawrence. Now, what I think might happen is that Khan is going to do this. He's going to get rid of everyone and start fresh. Maybe he'll leave his son in as general manager, which is nothing wrong with that. Just leave the football decisions to the football people and just let him run the business. It's a difficult situation, but Khan's going to have to make a tough choice. Look, Marone's a good guy. He's just one of the good guys, but it's not working. In Gruden, I'm really surprised that we're not moving the ball any better than we are. He's passed for a lot of yards. Some of it's in junk time. We know that, but it's not him and the offense is causing the problems. The problems are on the defensive side of the ball. They gave away half the team for nothing. 4th-round picks, 4 all-pros. They're gone, which we didn't mind seeing Ramsey go, but the other guys are, they're playing well for someone else. So when you give up your defense like that, you're going to put your offense in trouble, and especially with a new quarterback, a second-year guy, Minshew. He's behind 10-0, 14-zip, and the crap hits the fan. What are you going to do? I mean, it's going to have to be, if he's going to do it, he's going to have to do it quickly right after the season ends and bring someone in, travel in his boat around the world and find a guy that wants to coach football for Jacksonville, for crying out loud. Let's do it that way. But, I don't know what else to say. I'm frustrated. I don't want to pound the guys too bad because the guys are trying. Yeah. But we both know that the game is won or lost in the trenches.
Yeah.
If you can't control your offensive line, for him to pass and for Robinson to get the yards, you can't control the defensive line where the other team you got to rush the quarterback. It's not working. So I don't know what I'd say other than that. I mean, it's those of us that know the game and watch the games, we see that happening. If they lose the line of scrimmage, most of the time they lose the game, and they lose it big.
Yeah, and in Jacksonville, and like you said, find somebody who wants to coach Jacksonville. Find somebody who wants to be there. Find somebody who wants to be in Syracuse. God forbid they go back to an alum or a former coach or assistant coach that has love for the school. God forbid they do anything that would make you think that they care about the community that surrounds them, that employs them, that gives them money. That's what they need. I don't know how you win in Syracuse not recruiting the local kids who are going and playing for D1 programs, setting records and doing an amazing job. Shout out Servassier Dennis, John Phillips, Mike Hart, Latavius Murray, as well as Stevie Scott, Tyler Days, Tyler Rouse, and on and on and on and on and on. And so, there's frustration with that. And they don't let the alum in. They don't let the alumni who won talk to this team. The guys from the 80s teams, from the number 1 ranked offensive line, Turnell Sims, from the undefeated 1987 team, one of my closest friends, Rob Drummond, they won't let these people in. And they want to be in. And they said, we're not going to beg Syracuse. We're not going to beg Coach Babers, but we're here. So you don't let in the former players that won. You don't recruit the kids in the community. You don't let anybody know or build relationships with your staff. That sounds like a perfect ingredient to be here for a very short amount of time and do almost absolutely nothing with that time. I'm not asking Syracuse to reinvent the wheel. I'm asking them to give a damn. That's it. Just give a damn. And for Jacksonville, on their side of it, I like Shad. I like what he's done. I like the money he's put into Jacksonville. I like the fact that he's reinvested. I like the fact that he has built. He has done more than just have the Jaguars. He has Daly's Place. He has all of these things in different events and places and ways that people can enjoy and interact and have entertainment outside of the sport of football. I respect that and I appreciate that. What I want from Shad is to find me somebody who can get a message through to the current players today and start winning some games. Doug Marrone has the opposite personality of me. So I tell people all the time, anything you like about me, Doug's the opposite. I don't dislike Doug. I appreciate the time where we get to talk. But Doug is the type of person where he's like the live action version of the cartoon Fred Flintstone. That's Doug. That's Doug. Not wearing any shoes in the facility, walking with like high-rise sweatpants, not giving a dang, going into his office. You know, that's Doug Marrone. Doug Marrone is the dad who works 9 to 5. He comes home. He wants his dinner he wants the dinner right at 5:30, not 5:31, not 5:32. He's going to eat it. He's going to leave his plate there because he wants somebody else to pick it up. He's going to watch TV with the changer on his stomach. And if you try to change the channel, he's going to wake up and say, I'm watching that. That is Doug Marrone. That is not me. That's Doug. That attitude doesn't work. And what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over again, expecting a different result. I'm not a fan of what Jalen Ramsey and Telvin Smith and Marcel Darius and Yannick Ngakoue did to Jacksonville. I'm not a fan of their attitude. But do I believe that there's certain coaches that can get through to certain people? I do. Do I believe that there's ways to handle things? I do. Do I understand that you can't be a coach that has a blanket policy? And I don't know what Doug's policy is, but a blanket policy of, I'm going to treat everybody the same, and if they don't like it, tough. Jim Boeheim does that. He does that. He calls out his players publicly. Some guys go into a shell when he does it. Some guys play harder. You have to know how to attack each person differently. Most people don't like being blasted publicly. They don't appreciate it. They don't enjoy it. And one of his players that really played hard, who came on the show and talked to me about it, he was not a fan of the way that was handled. So, and he's not a bad kid. He just didn't like being berated publicly. It's like, okay, coach, tell me to my face, but you don't need to tell everybody in the media. So the reality of it all is coaches need to understand their players. Players need to understand their coaches. If there's a disconnect, they need to work on it. Communication is at the center of everything. The ability to communicate, the ability to hear somebody and what they're saying. You know how many conversations I've had with people where I say something and what they hear is totally different? I say the sky is blue and they're like, why do you like purple elephants? I can't for the life of me figure that out, but there's a communication disconnect. You try to connect that cord and you try over and over again. And then sometimes you realize this is not the outlet that I'm supposed to be in. I'm supposed to be in a different outlet. And so then you go to the next one. But that's what you have to figure out. Doug, it ain't working. Dino, it ain't working. So what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to keep rolling in the same direction? Because that's downhill. That's not what I want. I don't want Jacksonville to be in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. I want Jacksonville to play the 2020 NFL season. Because that is the one that is in front of us right now. I don't care about 2021. I care about right now. I care about this moment. And what they've put on the field, PJ, has been despicable. And it makes you believe that 3 years ago when they were knocking on the door of the Super Bowl was 37 years ago.
Yeah. Yep. It's not a good situation. We can, I tune in every week. I'll watch every week. I'll cheer them on every week. I want to see Minshew play better, but I want to see the defense play better. I want to see guys back to good health. I want to see them competitive every game. Every game I want to see them competitive, and that's the only thing we can do. We can bitch and moan all we want, and we can give our opinions, which we do. Yeah. And it's going to be we're going to have the same conversation next week. Because if they wind up losing big on the West Coast, then we're going to have the same conversation next week about the same problems. Unless Minshew throws for 400 yards, they somehow win a game 38-35, something like that. So there's not much we can say or do. I think he's got the athletes to win. I think his wide receiver core is good enough, at least possession-wise. I don't know what happened to Westbrook. Did Westbrook get hurt?
Dede, I'm gonna check the updated depth chart right now to see.
He's the only one that can stretch the field.
Yeah.
To get a deep pass out there. The rest of the guys are pretty possession receivers. Got a couple of good tight ends. Effort, I thought, would be used a lot more than he is. He got hurt. Shaughnessy is a good solid run blocker and a good pass receiver. You're using Robinson. Poor Robinson's legs are gonna fall off. His body's gonna fall off. He's getting killed out there. He's a new kid, not used to this type of stuff. They're using him on pass. They're using him as pass protection. They're using him as a pass receiver out of the backfield, and they're running the death of him. The kid's not going to make it to the end of the year if they don't give him rest his legs. And he's doing as much as he can. He's a hell of a player. and he's going to be a heck of a player in this league. So they've got to be smart. There's another running back, bring in another guy, give him a spell. Maybe 3 yards in a cloud of dust or something, but it's not working. So Doug needs to come up with something. I'm really disappointed in Gruden. I really am. I have yet to say that on this telecast, but I am now. I thought he would be a little bit more. You can't blame the quarterback for everything. They threw everything at Minshew, and he's digested it all. He knows what to play. He knows what to call and what to do. He's not going to be the best quarterback in the world, of course not. But he's good enough to win for Jacksonville because they don't have enough of a defense. If the defense can't rest him on the sidelines and give him 10 minutes to rest, they're going to beat him up too. Just like with Baker Mayfield this last weekend. This coach said, why they put another quarterback in? The coach says, I didn't want to see Baker get hit anymore. You got to be smart. Smart with your running back, smart for your quarterback. Minshew is a class guy. He's a rugged guy, throwback guy. He's going to be a good quarterback, but if he keeps getting hit and sacked the way he's been doing, and Robinson being used too much, we're going to have the same conversation, Daniel, every single week.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that is it's not a bad statement by any stretch of the imagination. You're telling the truth, PJ. Dede is not on the injury report this week, just to update on that. I thought it was funny when I originally tried to load the depth chart, it said not available, and I thought that was funny with what's going on. So, kind of interesting how things just kind of were God's little humor and quips, but the reality of it all is it's going to be a tough road unless Jacksonville could start rocking it. And again, it comes down to leadership. So with that being said, leadership at the top, leadership from the staff, leadership from the players, leadership, and moving forward. So with that being stated, PJ, we have just a couple final notes here. One of them being, I got to ask you about the World Series. It's tied 1-1 now at the time of our conversation. The Rays got their win in Game 2. The Dodgers started off in Game 1. What are your thoughts on the World Series as we get set to make our picks this week?
Very competitive. Going to be a good series. These are the two best leagues, the two best teams in the league. The Rays had the best record in the American League, and Los Angeles had the best record in National League, and they went through their knockout process, and here they are. The Rays play an entirely different kind of ball. They play small ball, as opposed to the Dodgers and their long ball. The Dodgers have a very scary lineup. They look like they can score 10 runs anytime they want to. They really put together well. They have great hitters. They got Clayton Kershaw is all they need. They got good pitching. I'm excited. It's fun to watch. Joe and I are watching it. MT is watching it. So we're going to have they can't play it tonight because they're not playing tonight. But the games are good. It's competitive. And I just wish that more people could see them. But that's the bed that we're in right now.
That coming from Papa Joe here this morning. We're making our picks for this week. We have a few picks to make, PJ, so we're going to jump right into it. Our games of the week. What are the games that you have circled? I'm gonna toss it to you. What would you like to make some of our games of the week this week?
Well, I don't normally toot their horn, but I am this time at Florida State.
Yeah.
A huge, absolutely huge win last week against maybe an overrated North Carolina team. An unbelievable win for the program.
Yeah.
And they're playing Louisville at Louisville. I actually like Florida State in this game because I want to see them competitive. And when Florida beats them, I want to beat them at full strength. Louisville and Florida State it's sort of a pick-em game. I know Louisville's up. I think they had a 5 or 6 point favorite or something like that. This could be an interesting one. This is one that I'm going to be looking at very closely.
Yeah, and Louisville came into the season ranked in the nation's top 25. They've fallen off. They played just a very low-scoring game, 19 points total between them and Notre Dame, and Notre Dame winning the game 12-7. So I'm actually going to give the nod on the momentum, and I'm going to pick FSU in this one as well over Louisville at Louisville because of momentum. Next game I want to circle here, PJ, is Tulane at UCF. Tulane has found ways to win. Willie Fritz has won everywhere that he has gone. He's found success. He's 2-3. They just lost to 17th ranked SMU, 37-34 in a very, very close contest. What is your take on Tulane at UCF after UCF is coming off of a high-scoring loss to Memphis, 50-49? So Tulane is looking to get their feet back, and UCF is looking to do the same. UCF started off with 2 wins, and since then has had 2 losses. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, both teams can score, that's for sure, and they're going to be running up and down the field. I sort of like UCF in this game. I know that I think they have better athletes, but it's going to be a high-scoring game for sure. No defense played in this game at all.
Yeah, I'm going to go with UCF in this one to right the ship. I think if they lose this game, it's definitely going to cause some questions. I totally do not appreciate the hypocrisy of college football, that when UCF loses, everybody goes, see, they're not that good. But when they win, everybody's like, they're not really playing anybody. So there's the reality of when UCF loses, everybody I shouldn't say everybody, ignorant people use it as a case against them. But when they win, people say it's not good enough. So if you look at them and say they're 25-0 and they lose their first game, and you go, oh, look, they lost a game, they're not that good, then you need to appreciate the 25-0 and not just the one loss. So that's my reality. The next game should be everybody's. The next game that we have here to circle is Michigan and Minnesota. Michigan has not only made the top 25 polls at 0-0, which is ridiculous, but in the last few weeks, they've risen. They've risen in the polls 4 or 5 spots. Must be nice. Maybe Syracuse just shouldn't have ever played a game this season, and we'd be in the top 21. Who knows? So, what are your thoughts on Michigan? Obviously, I'm being sarcastic because Michigan's coming in with, the Big Ten backing and the respect and whatnot, and not that the ACC doesn't have it, but Michigan, again, they get into polls because of their storied history and who they're supposed to be. They have a game at Minnesota. Both teams are ranked in the nation's top 25 for no reason at this point. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I would look at this game very carefully earlier, and I do believe Minnesota's got a chance to win this game. I've always thought Michigan is overrated, just like I do with Notre Dame. Some teams are always overrated, and these guys seem to be overrated. I like Minnesota in this game.
You like Minnesota, not Michigan?
Yep.
Okay. So PJ going with Minnesota in this matchup, and I am actually going to do the same. So I'm going with Minnesota in this matchup as well. Let's see if Michigan falls out of the polls if they are to lose this game, or, because UCF lost one game against a good Tulsa team, and they fell 18 spots out of the top 25. Let's see what happens with Michigan. Knowing the way these polls have been going, Michigan will probably get a number one. They'll probably get a vote for number one if they lose to Minnesota. So the next one up here is that I want to circle. I love their running back. He comes from my alma mater of CBA. He is a Central New York guy. And when I asked him about Syracuse, he said, I got nothing to say. And I said, why? And he said, because they don't talk to me. And that is Stevie Scott, who set a true freshman single-season record at Indiana for over 1,000 yards rushing, and the amount of yards that he gained, he set the new record and the new standard for true freshman running backs that rush for over 1,000 yards. The man is a freaking beast, and he comes into this season as a junior out of Syracuse, New York. No big deal. Stevie Scott, as a freshman in 2018, rushed for 1,137 yards and 10 touchdowns. Last year, 845 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's averaging just shy of 5 yards a carry, which is halfway for the first down for those playing the home game. So that guy wasn't good enough to play at Syracuse, but he's going to play in the NFL. So Penn State at Indiana. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think Penn State probably has got the better athletes. I know your young man is playing well, and he is going to go in the NFL, that's for sure. 3 yards in a cloud of dust, so that's the Big Ten over there. Penn State has been lurking the last couple of years. I'm not a James Franklin guy. I don't know why. I just don't much care for his personality and stuff. but I think Penn State has enough to win this game.
I'm going to go with the home squad. I'm going to go with Indiana. Listen, in a year where people have taken, where it's been a very interesting year, and there's been, more time for these teams to get ready, and we've seen that in a strange year of it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. Sometimes teams are able to get one early, and I think Indiana's got the talent to get after it, and I hope that they do. So, with that being said, I'm going with Stevie Scott, and unlike Syracuse University, I'm picking you, Stevie. Next one up here. What'd you say?
For all, I harp on the SEC a lot, of course, and I haven't mentioned the SEC at all during the telecast. I'm sure some of your listeners know that. But if you wanted to jump all over the SEC, this is the year to do it. So all you player haters out there that want to pound the SEC, go right ahead. Because other than Alabama, there's not a team that can compete with Alabama, and I'm including Florida in that. Florida has a chance. Look at when Alabama played Georgia, I thought that was going to be a hell of a game. Didn't turn out to be that way. There's Alabama and the rest of everyone else, Auburn and South Carolina and Mississippi State, Florida, Georgia, whatever. If you want to jump on the beating up the SEC's wagon, you can do it this year, and I don't blame you, because the SEC is not near as strong as they are. And with that being said, I got Auburn and South Carolina, which will be a very competitive game. Both teams I thought would be a lot better than they are this year, especially Auburn. So, but I got Auburn on that game. Or LSU and South Carolina. My bad. LSU. Wow, look what's happened to LSU. My goodness. And this is a 6-point game. South Carolina and LSU. At LSU. So.
Yeah.
I said my piece.
PJ making his statement be known here. Yeah, and and that's the thing, is attacking the SEC, and people that want to say this, that, and the other. But like you said, the SEC is in a place right now where things are maybe not as clean as they were, and unfortunately, I mean, Alabama's going to be Alabama, but you definitely want to see a team step up like Florida. I have high expectations of them this season. Let's go into this game. Notre Dame, those of you that have listened this week know my feelings, but in case anybody needs to understand my feelings again, maybe if you didn't hear it yesterday or this week, I'll let you know. Notre Dame is number 3 in the nation. I don't know if it's because of the movie Rudy, or it's because the alumni are all over the country, or it's because they got them dollars, or it's because Notre Dame was good 10 years ago, or because Brian Kelly's teeth were really pearly white on the latest Zoom call. I have no idea, because Notre Dame, the third-ranked team in the nation, beat Duke, whatever, beat USF, whatever, beat Florida State, whatever, beat Louisville barely at home in South Bend.
That's right.
So 4-0 against 4 unranked teams. Wow, Notre Dame. You get to play a ranked team on November 7th when you play Clemson. And then you'll play North Carolina. Outside of that, you don't play any ranked teams this season besides those 2 teams. Well, Notre Dame on paper's got to... I don't want to hear about on paper. I want to hear about on the field. Notre Dame's 4-0 against garbage. So, why are they the third-ranked team in the nation? Number 1. And number 2, do they lose to Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh?
No, they don't lose to Pittsburgh. I mean, this is going to be a terrible game to watch. I know Pittsburgh has had some good games this year, but Notre Dame certainly has the athletes. Coach Kelly, I've never been a fan of his either. He just doesn't get enough out of his players. For all he has a top 10 recruiting class every single year, and he still can't put it together. So maybe he will this year. I don't know. We'll find out when he plays Clemson.
Yeah, I don't know why in my head. That's when they played them. Okay, there it is. So they played Pittsburgh in South Bend. They won 19-14. It was 2 years ago. I said it was last year. It was 2 years ago. So in 2018, they played Pittsburgh and they won 19-14. And not because Notre Dame was great. Pittsburgh made, obviously some mistakes toward the end. So I'm going with Pittsburgh this year. I'm picking Pittsburgh against Notre Dame because Pittsburgh has been ranked. Pittsburgh has done good things. Pat Narduzzi is a good recruiter. And Pittsburgh has assimilated to the ACC way faster than Syracuse. You would have thought Pittsburgh's been in the ACC for 20 years because they have found a way to get it done. And granted, Clemson is typically eyes and ears above everybody. Pittsburgh has won the Coastal Division. Pittsburgh has recruited incredibly. They've done a fantastic job. This is where Dan Marino went. This is where Larry Fitzgerald went. This is where Aaron Donald went. And this is where Servassier Dennis, also another guy from Central New York that wasn't good enough to play for Syracuse, that's where he went. And I'm saying that sarcastically because I love my kids here and I will support the heck out of them. So, Servassier, keep doing you because I love it. And I'm happy that a Division I team was smart enough to take a chance on you when the one down the road that could ride a tricycle to your house didn't decide to come over. So, Pittsburgh, I'm picking Pittsburgh.
There's one other game that you really should mention. That you like both of these teams, that's SMU and Cincinnati. Yeah. This game is a pick-em game. This is going to be a hell of a game. This is a game I'm going to watch.
And who are you going to pick in this one?
SMU.
I'm going to go with Cincinnati in this. Cincinnati's in the nation's top 10, so I'm going to go. I know that SMU plays spoiler, and Cincinnati, if they win this game, they're going to continue to make it tough for the committee. Apparently, the College Football Playoff Committee only believes you can have one AAC team that's anywhere close to the top. God forbid have two. So in that case, where we are right now, I like Cincinnati in the matchup. And Papa Joe, the final game I have to ask you before I let you go is a game that is very close. When you look at the line in Vegas, it's dead even. Anybody could win it. It's like a hair, a hair of difference. Syracuse at Clemson. Who do you have?
I told you were 46 points at underdog.
I know.
Crying out loud.
I know.
I want to see it. I want to see you win the line of scrimmage in the second half. At least be competitive. What Clemson did to Georgia Tech last year, they weren't even firing on all the cylinders against Georgia Tech last week, and they scored 73 points. I get a feeling, Daniel, you're in for look at. When we come up to situations like this, I always say, I'm going to say a novena for you. I'm doing it this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, when you're trying to cover a 46-point spread, that's, I guess you just got to hope that you have, that the walk-ons start playing in the third quarter. But the walk-ons are good, and Dabo Swinney's got both of his sons on the team, mind you. So
yeah.
with that being said, and they have gotten to play this year. So with that being said, I am going with the Clemson Tigers. PJ, as always, Lord Jesus and Mary. So, as always, PJ, I appreciate you. Give my best to Meatball number 1 and Miss Mary T. And I send you my love. I look forward to talking with you soon.
Okay, see you later. Bye-bye.
Take care. That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets life. And, folks, this is the reality, okay? For those of you that think, the reality of it all is Syracuse is in trouble. And I want to see this team do well. I want to see them advance. I want to see them be successful. The reality of it all is it's not working. It doesn't look like Dino has control of the team. It looks like when he's held on to his timeouts in games, it looks like he's given up on the team. It looks like he did that against Pittsburgh. Like he just conceded, and they were only down by 11, and feasibly with 3:03 left on the clock, they could have gotten 2 possessions if they had made a stop. There's a chance that they could have won that game or at least made it a respectable loss. And so we are where we are right now. You lose to Liberty, who came in with a plan. Syracuse didn't have one. I mean, maybe they did, but it didn't work. And, you can't just go out and play a pickup game and hope that it works out. You have to plan and you have to scheme. And knowing the embarrassing game they had against the run against Duke, to have another one against Liberty is ridiculous. And to have 3 running backs in the last 2 weeks that have rushed for over 160 yards apiece, that's unacceptable. So with that being stated, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we'll have Lou Alexander on the broadcast hanging out with us where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, giving his thoughts on the current state of Syracuse football as an alum, coming up right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat Family-Friendly Sports Pub and Restaurant.